Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to our educator webinar, The Future ACCA Qualification Explained. My name is Sonia Weston, Education Support Lead, and today I am joined by Rachel Norman, ILA Qualification Lead. We have an information-packed hour ahead, so let's have a look at the agenda. Today, we will be taking you through an overview of the future ACCA qualification, the benefits for our future members, and for you, our educators. We'll then take you through the key milestones and support timeline to outline how we will support you during this period. Following which, we will have a look at the transition principles in place for students that will be in the middle of their studies. We do have dedicated time for Q&A towards the end of the webinar, and a big thank you to those that took the opportunity to submit questions in advance. However, a reminder to use the Q&A function to submit any questions you may have, and we will aim to address as many of them as possible live during this session. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Rachel to take you through the future of the ACCA qualification.
Great. Thanks, Sonia. Hi, everyone. I am really delighted and excited to have this opportunity to come and talk to you today about the changes that we're making in the redesign of our ACCA qualification. We at ACCA have a long-standing history of excellence in qualification design, and this redesign for me reflects our unwavering commitment to rigor, to integrity, and to the employability of our students. We regularly review and we update our syllabus and our qualification structure to ensure that we're always evolving to meet the needs of the profession. So this redesign is not new territory for us. We've led the way before. And this is just the latest part of that evolution and ensures our future members are equipped for the workplace of the future, and they're prepared for diverse and expanding career paths across any role and any sector. By doing this, we're confident that we're continuing to offer a qualification that remains relevant and at the cutting edge as we move forward. From everything we're seeing across our global membership, in our policy and insights research work, and in our extensive work with our global network of employers, policymakers, and educators, we know there are big changes happening in the profession. Accountants are now drivers of sustainable business. They are promoters of social value. They are enablers of new technologies more than ever before. Their financial and ethical skills are being sharpened for a changed world of ever-shifting opportunities and challenges. Our members are innovating with new business models and fresh thinking about what success looks like. They are focused on people, planet, and prosperity to create value for all. So in short, accountancy is being redefined in really exciting ways that are expanding and reshaping the role of the profession. So before I go into talking about the details of the qualification structure itself, I wanted to just talk to you first briefly about the approach that we've been taking in getting to this place. We know the ACCA qualification is trusted and respected around the world. We want to build on that reputation with the changes that we're making to ensure the ongoing relevance of the qualification, but also ensure that the qualification remains every bit as rigorous and robust as it is today. We've not done this in isolation. We have based this redesign on extensive consultation. We've consulted partners around the globe from all our key stakeholder groups, and this includes ACCA's Council, our International Assembly, joint exam scheme partners, regulators, members, employers, universities, learning providers, students, and prospects. We've listened overall to the views of over 1,000 stakeholders, and we've gathered all their feedback into our design review process. From all of this consultation, we've identified key areas which you should see coming out very strongly in the redesign. We've got core areas like integrity and ethics remaining critical, so you'll continue to see a real focus there. We've also heard a lot in our conversations about employability, and you'll see this area coming out very strongly in the redesign. We've talked and heard a lot about areas like technology and sustainability. These areas, whilst they're already in the ACCA qualification, are very fast-moving areas in the profession that we want to stay at the forefront of. And they're areas where the traditional role of the accountant is really widening. So when we get into the design, you'll see that these areas are interwoven throughout the qualification rather than sitting as standalone elements. This is very much the way we treat ethics, but we really believe that by linking and integrating these areas, we're developing students' technical and professional skills holistically to ensure that they're going into the workplace and their careers ready to make the biggest impact that they can. And as well as the redesign itself, we've thought long and hard about how we move from our current qualification into the new redesigned structure. We are fully supporting our current students and those starting out on their journey between now and the introduction of these changes in 2027. A really important part of our transition is that our existing students will not be disadvantaged by the change in structure. We've got a great transition plan in place, which includes a great online transition tool, which Sonia will talk more about shortly, which shows how students' progress can map onto the redesigned qualification. We're giving them lots of clear guidance on how they continue on their path to membership as we transition from the current structure into the future one. So, areas that you will see coming out very strongly in the ACCA qualification of the future. We aim to ensure that we're continuing to attract future talent to the profession, and we want to keep building on that strong recognition of our qualification that we have from employers and the marketplace. We'll do this through a combination of factors. We'll be talking about the comprehensive guidance that we'll be giving to students to support them through the qualification and enhance their progression. We'll be assessing students using best practice assessment types. We're enhancing our practical experience offering, ensuring that we help learners gain the experience and the skills that they need for successful careers, including providing opportunities for them to take additional employability modules. And we're rewarding learners with our enhanced awards and designations as they go through the journey. And as they move towards ACCA membership, we're going to be embedding the values of lifelong learning with them to support them in their careers, not just to membership, but onwards as the profession and their careers continue to evolve into the future. So now let's move into looking at the structure of the redesigned qualification itself. Although there are lots of individual elements, I'm really encouraging you to see the qualification design holistically. Through this design, we're developing both the technical and the professional skills of our future members, and we're doing this through that integrated learning and exam journey with that real clear focus on employability and career impact. So you'll see in the redesigned qualification, we have exams. They ensure our students are equipped with the skills needed in the workplace, always using real-world scenarios. We're bringing in new essential employability modules. These will be mandatory at each level of the qualification. And they're great because they allow us to develop and assess both those technical and professional skills in a slightly different way to complement the way we're doing it in the exam elements of the qualification. We've talked already about how employability and experience are developed through the journey. We still have students required to complete a minimum of 36 months of supervised relevant experience, which they can do alongside their exams and essential employability modules at any stage of their journey. And we now have the exciting addition of a suite of optional employability modules, which students can use to enhance their skills and competence in a range of areas at any stage of their journey. Now, the qualification is arranged in levels. All our students will continue to progress up through the levels of the ACCA qualification just as they do now. In a moment, I'll look more at the individual exams in each of those levels, but I'll stay at the level view for now. The ACCA qualification remains as it is now at 3 levels. In our current structure, we have applied knowledge, applied skills, and strategic professional. In the new structure, these levels are renamed to knowledge, expertise, and strategic professional. Students will need to complete the exams at a level and also the essential employability module at that level to gain the award at that level and progress upwards. At this point, it's worth me talking briefly a little bit more about what these essential employability modules look like. These are online, self-paced modules which a student can work through whenever they want to. These modules will contain technical content, but will develop students' technical and professional skills in a slightly different way than they do in their exam elements. They'll do this through a really exciting integrated learning and assessment combination that will include students doing some learning, some formative and summative assessments. Students need to successfully complete all of those elements to have completed the module. More detail on those, as well as the exams, will be coming out, and Sonia's going to talk a bit more later about the roadmap of when that further information is coming out. On screen, as well as those 3 levels of the ACCA qualification, you will see a first column of foundations level. Students who meet our minimum entry criteria will begin ACCA qualification at the knowledge level, just as they currently begin at applied knowledge. But for those who do not meet our minimum entry criteria, we've created a simplified route into the ACCA qualification with this redesigned foundations level. And this replaces the current Foundations in Accountancy suite of exams. With no entry requirements here, the foundations level provides opportunity for anyone to take their first steps towards an accountancy career. Students completing the exams and essential employability module at this foundations level will be awarded with a diploma in accounting and business. The knowledge level, that's the equivalent of today's applied knowledge level. Students who meet those minimum entry criteria will begin their ACCA qualification journey here, with others moving on from the completion of the foundations level. At this knowledge level, our students will complete 3 mandatory exams and 1 essential employability module. On completion, they'll be awarded with a higher diploma in accounting and business. And there's also a route at this level for students who want to achieve their certified accounting technician qualification and designation. At the expertise level, that's the equivalent of today's applied skills level, students are really developing the strong, broad, practical finance qualities required of professional accountants in any sector and any industry. On completion of the exams and essential employability module, they'll be awarded with an advanced diploma in accounting and business. There's also an option at this level for students to attain a BSc degree alongside their ACCA qualification, and they do that through our partnership, our unique partnership with the University of London. And at the strategic professional level, this level is recognised globally as being aligned to a taught master's qualification. Students who complete the redesigned strategic professional level and their practical experience requirement will move on to achieve ACCA membership. There's also a range of learning opportunities at this level for members, and one of those is the opportunity to achieve an MSc through the University of London partnership we hold. Now, before we look at the exams at each level, just a quick word on timing. The first exams for this redesigned structure will be in 2027, giving us plenty of time to work with learning partners, students and employers to ensure that smooth transition from the structure we have in place just now. If I change the slide to show the exams at each level, all the students will progress up through these levels by completing each of the exams, as we talked about, and the essential employability module. When we look at the exams at each level, you'll see that we're continuing to cover all the subject areas that you see within the current ACCA qualification, but with that renewed focus on the areas such as ethics, sustainability, technology, and data. Although we've not listed them out individually on the screen, we are continuing to offer local variants of our tax and law exams. So at this stage, I'd probably like to highlight a few areas of the design in particular to you. Firstly, if we look at the foundations level, you can really see that streamlined structure in the design, moving to just 3 exams and 1 essential employability module. This gives students a clearer entry route into the ACCA qualification. We are not losing content here, we are just removing duplication and simplifying the structure at this level. At knowledge level, you'll see that law has moved here from its current position at applied skills, which becomes expertise. For me, this is just really a move in position for students to experience law earlier in their qualification journey, rather than it being a change in the type of content or the way we're looking to assess it. This move of the law exam is linked to what looks like the disappearance of the BT, Business and Technology exam. Again, that content is not being lost. It's just going to be covered in other places, primarily through responsible business management, the essential employability module at the knowledge level. I also want to take a minute to look at some changes to the strategic professional level. There are some changes here around our options exams. We are moving to a requirement for students to complete 1 options exam as well as their 2 mandatory exams, rather than the 2 options requirement we have in place at the moment. There is also a change in the number of options exams available to choose from. So currently our students select 2 options exams from an available 4, and in the future design we'll move to selecting 1 from an available now 5, including the exciting new data science professional option, where they can gain more advanced skills in this exciting and fast-moving area. At the bottom of the screen, you can see our practical experience requirement, which remains a mandatory part of students gaining ACCA membership and is every bit as important as the exam and module elements. Just as they do now, our students will be required to gain a minimum of 36 months of supervised practical experience in a relevant role. They're also required to complete a set of performance objectives, although these objectives themselves are being refreshed. The biggest change here is the addition of optional employability modules. These are separate from the essential employability modules that happen at each level of the qualification, and these are truly optional. Some of them will cover professional and personal skills such as communication or leadership, whilst others will contain technical content to complement the content of the main ACCA qualification. For example, use of a particular accounting software or more detail in a particular topic or particular sector. Not all of these, but some of these optional employability modules will provide simulated experience, and a student completing these modules will be able to count that simulated experience towards their 36-month practical experience requirement, up to a maximum of 6 months. It's worth saying that the ones on screen now are by no means an exhaustive list, but are just a few indicative examples of the types of things that will appear within a much larger portfolio of optional employability modules as we move into the new design. So before I hand back to Sonia, I'll briefly look at some of the benefits of this future design for our students, and then I'll pass back to Sonia to talk more about the benefits and information to come for you as educators. So when I'm talking about future members and the benefits of this redesign for them, I mean our current students and those considering taking the ACCA qualification. Basically, for me, it's about them having a great career in today's profession, a career that is successful, is varied, it's flexible, and it provides opportunity with a qualification that is recognized as being cutting edge and forward-looking all around the world. It's a career that will provide them with unlimited possibilities. We really think this redesigned qualification gives our future members, a launch pad to pursue that exciting career, when we see that now more than ever, the role of the accountant is broadening and widening. We really think that this qualification opens doors across the profession, including across different sectors, different industries, and different job roles around the world. The redesigned qualification remains rigorous and relevant, ensuring that every qualified ACCA professional has the technical expertise, the professional skills, and also the ethical grounding needed to thrive and stand out. And I've talked a lot about the big focus on students' employability in this redesign, including through the new essential and optional employability modules. This means that now more than ever, students are able to create impact in the workplace at every stage of their journey and will be rewarded with those awards and designations along the way, which they can use to demonstrate their skills and abilities to employers and help boost their career. I'll pass back now to Sonia to talk more about the benefits and information to come for you as educators. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Rachel. And for you as educators of these future ACCA members, we believe the redesign also brings benefits. I'll talk more about these in a moment, but for our valued, approved learning partners and university partners, it's all about us working together to ensure that ACCA remains the gold standard qualification into the future and that it remains relevant and in demand. So our approved learning and university partners have a crucial role in supporting ACCA strategic ambitions. We know that our partners support ACCA's growth, reinforce our brand power, support the delivery of ACCA's public value, and ultimately contributes to ACCA being the number one in developing the accountancy profession the world needs. We believe the redesign of the ACCA qualification will not only enhance the value of the qualification, but also motivate students to progress, creating stronger commitment and success rates. For our approved learning partners and university partners, this means more students, more engagement, and ultimately more revenue. We're unlocking opportunities to reach a larger number of students, to enter new markets in a number of new ways, such as the introduction of the new options exam, the simplified foundations level, the introduction of the new employability modules, or the re-energized certified accounting technician offering. So there are many benefits to be had. Now, in our recent conversations with partners, especially our approved learning partners, one question that keeps coming up is, what do the future changes to the ACCA qualification mean for us? Now, I completely understand that some of you may feel a little concerned. With fewer exams, what will that mean for your business model? But here's the thing. It's about reimagining how ACCA is taught, using new methods, smarter delivery, and reaching new types of learners. So let me share a few specific ways in which we see these changes opening up fresh commercial opportunities for you. So if we look at number one and we take the qualification as a whole, it will be more attractive to the next generation as the redesigned qualification speaks to a new generation of learners. It's modern, it's relevant, and it keeps ACCA at the forefront of redefining accountancy. That means higher enrollments overall and more students coming through your doors. Number two highlights the essential employability modules, which many of you are already thinking about embedding in your tuition packages. These not only strengthen student outcomes, but they also generate an additional revenue stream. The foundation level changes at number three mean that students who don't meet the minimum entry requirements will need to complete the foundation level before moving on to the knowledge level. So for you, that means more courses to deliver and more opportunities to support those learners on their journey. We've strengthened the simplified the certified accounting technician qualification proposition, making it clearer and more appealing. So this should increase demand for CAT as a pathway, and in doing so, create more teaching opportunities. Number 5 highlights our new partnership with the University of London, which means that learning partners can become registered training centres for the University of London. This gives you the chance to deliver the 2 exams required for the BSc. And remember, students need to sit financial reporting, taxation, and audit and assurance, as exemptions don't count. So that translates into more exam preparation and tuition demand. At number 6, we have the exciting new data science professional exam. Really exciting, as this exam isn't just for students. We expect huge interest from members and even non-members. So this could open an entirely new segment for you to tap into. And at number 7, last but by no means least, we have the optional employability modules. These modules contribute to students' PR, and employers are giving us very positive feedback on these modules. If you integrate them into your offerings, that's another valuable area for growth. So yes, the structure of the qualification is evolving, and for partners who adapt, there's real potential to grow revenue, broaden your portfolio, and position yourselves at the heart of preparing accountants for the future. Now, with this evolving structure in mind, we understand the critical importance of providing you all with the necessary support and resources to make the transition as seamless as possible. Next, we are going to take a look at the key resources and support we intend to provide to you, our educators, to help you navigate the future qualification. Our aim is to take you on this journey with us and ensure that you are kept informed, providing you with everything you need to support your delivery. So this first slide takes us through to June 2026, starting with the availability of our exam guidance pack for the foundation and knowledge levels, which will be available from this November. So this is over 18 months ahead of the first exams. Now, this valuable pack will contain full syllabi for both the exams and the essential employability modules, specimen exams to allow you to become familiar with the format and question types, along with valuable guidance from the examining team. In December, we will provide you with further information on our ACCA approved programs relating to the approved learning partner and approved employer programs, as well as exemption accreditation. In January of next year, we will be holding webinars where we intend to take a more in-depth look at the syllabus content at the foundations and knowledge levels. Now, this will provide you with the opportunity to have any exam or module-specific questions addressed, and so do look out for further information as to when these will be taking place. March will see the release of the guidance packs for the expertise and strategic professional levels, again 18 months prior to the first exams. And as you can see, the content is the same as previously mentioned for the foundations and knowledge levels. With our Global Educator Conference taking place in April next year, this will present an opportunity to dive a little deeper into the specifics of the redesigned qualification, and we will use this forum to hold exam and essential employability module specific sessions, as well as to discuss the broader issues relating to the accounting profession. Looking at July to December 2026, for the foundations and knowledge levels, July will see the release of the updated ACCA content in the form of our Study Hub core content, So this is the full text covering the entire syllabus, as well as the tutor premium content. So for example, the slides and additional questions, which I know many of you do use. And we will also make available additional practice questions. Closely on the heels of this release, in August, we will have our updated digital Train the Trainer and tutor development resources available on the Educator Hub. These exam-specific resources will continue to be an essential part of every tutor's journey and will play an important role in ensuring you are fully conversant with the redesigned qualification as you head into the classrooms. A similar pattern is followed for the expertise and strategic professional levels, with ACCA content being available in September, followed in October by the updated digital Train the Trainer and tutor development program being made available on the Educator Hub. In addition, we have the release of variant syllabi and specimen exams also in October. And for those looking for further information on our variant exams, there is a dedicated milestone and support timeline for those exams on our website. And you will find the link to that area in the resources section of this webinar. In October, we are planning to hold global Train the Trainer webinar workshops for foundations and knowledge levels. Now, these webinars will not be a repetition of the digital content, but will rather supplement this content by providing an opportunity for discussion, to have any questions answered, and to obtain further insight and support. And so it is advised that you engage with and complete the digital resources ahead of these workshops in order to obtain maximum benefit. Moving on to January to June 2027, again, a similar pattern with global workshops for the expertise and strategic professional levels in January, and global webinars for the foundations and knowledge level essential employability modules taking place in February. So an opportunity to discuss these modules in further detail. April 2027 will see exam entry for the on-demand computer-based exams at foundations and knowledge levels open, with exams being available from July 2027. And our annual tutor conference will also take place in April, which will again provide us with the opportunity for examiner-led exam and module-specific sessions. Global webinars for the expertise and strategic professional levels essential employability modules will take place in June. And we will also see exam entry for the first exams at this level onto the redesigned qualification, which will take place in September 2027. So exam entry will open at this time. Finally, having a look at July to December 2027, where July will see the first exams being taken at foundation and knowledge levels. And once we have sufficient data to provide valuable insights, which we anticipate will be around September, we will schedule post-exam review webinars in order to share any key findings with our educator group. At the expertise and strategic professional levels, as is the current case, we will continue to support with pre-session mocks ahead of the exams in September. And after the exams, we will take some time to reflect and hold post-exam review webinars, which is an opportunity to provide feedback on and engage in discussions relating to the first exams. Finally, in December of 2027, we will roll out our digital Train the Marker resource. Now, this is an essential resource which allows you insight into the mindset of an ACCA examiner. These will be followed by Train the Marker workshops, which will take us into 2028. And again, it's advised that you engage with the digital resource prior to attending these live workshops. So as you can see, we have a comprehensive support plan in place. Do keep an eye on the Educator Hub, as information and resources will be made available on this platform before it is released and available to the general public. Now, before we go into the Q&A portion of this webinar, I'm just going to talk through transition principles. We've received many questions asking how students will transition from the current qualification to the redesigned qualification. And the first thing I would like to emphasize is that we will fully support students throughout the transition, and we will give credit for exams already passed under the current qualification to ensure that no one is disadvantaged in terms of time and cost, as no one will be required to resit an equivalent exam. As Rachel mentioned earlier, our transition rules will allow students partway through their qualification journey to receive credit for their progress to date and continue their progress onto the redesigned ACCA qualification. We've also taken steps to ensure that our future members will continue to be competent in all key areas, and will therefore be encouraging completion of the essential employability modules, even where the transition requirement does not directly mandate it. Again, students will not need to take any equivalent elements of the redesigned qualification, which they have already completed. At the strategic professional level, the redesigned qualification will require completion of one option exam. However, we continue to allow students to complete more options should they wish to do so. Our transition tool has been developed to aid understanding of how the expected progress of your students will map onto the new qualification structure. The tool is comprehensive, it's very easy to use, and requires students to input their expected exams and module passes at the time of transition, following which the tool will display how that progress transfers onto the redesigned qualification. Now, you'll find a link to this transition tool in the resources folder at the bottom of your screen, so do feel free to go in and have a look at how it actually works. A couple of final points to cover. Students will continue to receive exemptions for relevant prior learning, and this applies to both exams and essential employability modules at the knowledge and expertise level, with no changes at the strategic professional level, where no exemptions will be awarded. And finally, program accreditations will be valid to the end of the accreditation period, with arrangements being made with regards to current assessments, which will be transitioned to the redesigned qualification. So this brings us to the end of the presentation and to the Q&A segment of this webinar. Now, we've had a number of questions that were submitted in advance, and also I've noticed that the Q&A has been very busy during this presentation. Do keep those questions coming in, and we're going to start having a look at some of these questions. Right, so I'm joined again by Rachel, who's going to help me with answering some of your questions. And I've tried to have a look at the type of questions that we've received. And we've had several questions about what the new exam formats might look like, and questions about what the changes to specific exams will be. Rachel, maybe you want to take that one to start us off.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. It's a great question. We have been looking at the format of our future exams just as we have been looking at the structure that we've talked through. When we've been doing this, we have to be mindful of a number of different things. So we have been very mindful of latest developments in educational best practice. We have to be very mindful of the unique and global nature of our student base. We have had at the forefront of our minds the need for rigor and integrity and high levels of integrity in our assessments. And we also have to bear in mind the various recognition that the ACCA qualification holds in various markets around the world and where we're benchmarked at certain educational levels. All of those things need to come together when we're looking at changes or potential changes to our assessment format. I'm not going to go into great details here. We will be releasing a lot more information on assessment format in line with the roadmap that Sonia was talking through. So in November of this year, when Sonia was talking about the guidance pack for the foundation and knowledge levels, that's where all the details of that will be coming out to you. You will have the syllabus for each exam, but you will have a full specimen exam for each subject. That will be in the format of the exam. There will also be information within that syllabus document of the exam format. So I'll not go into detail on a subject by subject basis now, but there is lots more to come. But just to reassure you that where we've been looking at that assessment format, we've been doing it holistically, bearing in mind all of those different angles we've got to consider. Thanks, Sonia.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. Speaking of exams and format, we've had a very interesting question, which I'd like to bring in here. Will the option exams be harder since only one optional paper is needed?
That is a nice, easy one. No, the options exams will not be being made harder. It is a change in the number of options exams that students are required to complete. Our strategic professional and therefore the options exams continue to be benchmarked at the same educational level they are currently. So no, they are not getting harder.
Great. I'm sure a lot of people will be relieved to hear that. I've noticed that there's been quite a few questions coming in around the Educator Hub, which I referenced several times during my section of the presentation, as that is where you will find, the latest resources. You will find information as to what's happening in our educator community. And we've had questions about how to get access to the Educator Hub. So I think I'll take this one. So access to the Educator Hub is available to all tutors that are at our Gold and Platinum approved learning partners, or if you are currently with a Silver learning partner who is working towards achieving Gold approval, as well as some of our university partners. Now, if you already have an account, so if you have been into the Educator Hub previously, but you have forgotten your password, there is an option there to reset your password. So you simply use the email address that was used when you previously accessed your account, and you will be sent instructions regarding how to reset your password. Now, if you have never had access to the Educator Hub, then please do contact your local ACCA office, who will be able to sort out access for you. So hopefully that has addressed questions relating to the Educator Hub. Another type of questions that we've been having around students, and as educators, I'm so happy to see that you are all eager to find out how you can help your students to transition and what should your students do now. So there's been a lot of questions about how you can start to prepare your students now for changes in 2027. And my personal advice on that is to keep your students progressing with the current qualification and use all of our educator related resources to get yourself ready to provide support when that transition takes place in 2027. So keep students progressing. Also, a lot of people want to know more about how their students will be affected by the changes on the redesigned qualification. So I don't know, Rachel, do you have anything that you'd like to add in at that point?
Thanks. I probably just echo exactly what you said, Sonia. It's very much for me a message about keeping going on the current qualification. I would encourage everybody on the webinar today to spend some time playing with the online transition tool. So that tool is built with several thousand scenarios sitting behind it that detail every position that a student could be in when we hit those transition points in 2027. I think that transition tool gives a lot of reassurance on that message of students keeping going on the current qualification now. And by playing with that transition tool, you'll be able to see that anything a student does to keep progressing just now will be given credit, will be rewarded, whatever point that student's at then when they get into the redesigned structure. So yeah, just echoing what you're saying, Sonia, the message is about keeping going, lots of reassurance that their efforts at this stage are absolutely not wasted.
Great. Thanks for that, Rachel. Now, I know we've got people in the background that are answering your questions as they come in to the Q&A, but I've been trying to keep an eye on what has been coming in. And I've noticed that there has been several questions around exemptions. So Rachel, people are asking about the changes to exemptions, that, you know, what will be available under the new qualification. Also questions on how program accreditation might be affected. Can you take that one?
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question. Firstly, yes, we will absolutely be continuing to recognise and give credit for relevant prior learning. It is essential that we do that. Sonia, in your slide, you mentioned it a bit briefly, a couple of high-level points. I'll maybe recap those, but also draw everyone's attention to the dates on your roadmap, where there is a lot more information coming out about exemptions and accreditation. From a policy perspective, yes, we're continuing to recognise that valid prior learning. We are doing that up to the strategic professional, so through the knowledge and expertise levels, as we recognise that prior learning against our current applied knowledge and applied skills levels. A really important part of our exemptions approach, though, is just as we do now, there will be no exemptions for the future strategic professional level. So a student will need to come and complete the strategic professional level in full, the mandatory exams, options exam requirement, and essential employability module. They have to complete that in full. There is, I think, also reassurance that we are continuing to accredit programs. Again, more information on that to follow. We will be looking at that against the new design, looking at programs, syllabus, assessments, similarly to the way we do now. But we are also very much supporting our accredited program partners through the transition. So we will be looking at those accreditation arrangements in place now, running into the new structure in line with our transition rules, and then transitioning those accredited programs into the new structure. Again, lots more information about that coming out in line with those dates that Sonia's talked through on the roadmap.
Great, thank you very much, Rachel. It seems like we've been receiving questions now relating to transition tool and transition. And one great comment, just want to mention that the transition tool is really great. It's so handy. So thank you for that. And, you know, that is just an encouragement for you all to go and engage with the transition tool. But we've had questions specifically, Rachel, around professional level transition. The question is, if a student has one option paper passed on the transition date, will they be forced to sit another, or will they automatically be considered to have passed sufficient option papers? I think that's a very interesting question.
Yep, definitely a great question. So the way it will work that when we get to the transition point, students will be given automatic credit for everything that they've done against corresponding elements of the new structure. So a student who has passed one options exam will gain credit against the corresponding new options exam, just in the same way that their mandatory exams will give them credit against the new mandatory exams. Um, a student will, though, then need to complete any remaining elements of that, in this case, strategic professional level, before they can gain the award at that level, in this case, affiliate status and then membership. They will not be forced to complete a second option at the point of transition. It is just one place in the design, though, where I would encourage people to see the design holistically, as we were saying, rather than focus on just that one point about options exams. I think also, to echo that point about students continuing on their journey now, there are huge benefits of students moving into affiliate and member status now, rather than waiting until these transitions rules and the new structure come into place in 2027. But no, short answer, they will not be forced to do a second options exam in 27. Thanks, Sonia.
Great. Thank you very much. I think we're going to start wrapping up, but as I've looked in the Q&A, I've noticed that we're still getting questions around when the exam format, when learning outcomes will be available, where will they be available. So just to cover this point again, it is on the timeline, and you can find information on this timeline. There is a link in the resources section, which will take you to the ILA specific area of our website, where you will find the timeline. And just to cover this again, so for foundations and knowledge, November 2025, that is the date for your diary. That is when you will be able to access the syllabi for both the exams and the essential employability modules. Specimen exams will also be available, guidance from the examining team. So November 2025 for foundations and knowledge, and then for expertise and strategic professional, March 2026. That is the date for your diary. So that is when the syllabi, the specimen exams, etc., will be available for expertise and strategic professional. So thanks very much for joining me today, Rachel. That brings us to the end of this webinar. Now, to find out more and to keep informed, visit accaglobal.com/futurequal to access the transition tool and to read about Accountancy Redefined. Thank you all so very much for joining us today, and enjoy the remainder of your day. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.